Hey, we have both of our boys with us. You can hear James playing in the background right now. We wanted to bring our family into this. So just be forewarned as you dive into this video that there are children noises.
Yes.
Hey, welcome to Sursum Corda. I'm Rob.
I'm Lauren.
Today we're talking about the 5 steps that you should take or might want to take in order to transition to a single family income. Step number 1, or the first thing you should look at, is what is your why? So identify the why that you want. Why is it that you and your spouse want to transition to a single family income? Because that why, as long as it's locked in, as the challenges come, it'll make it a lot easier to kind of just keep the focus on that. Name it, identify it. For us, it was really challenging on my heart to drop him off at a daycare. Even though it was a beautiful, wonderful daycare, it was literally a 2-minute drive from where we were working, the ministry that we were at the time. It was just really gut-wrenching and really difficult for me to leave my 2-month-old baby boy there. And so that was the starting point, and that was becoming part of the why. And I think the full why for us was we just wanted to have total control over the life of our children, over the moments of growth, those experiences. We just wanted to be around that at all moments and stuff too. So that was a big one. Yeah. Number 1, know your why. Identify your why, write it down, or make sure that you have that articulated.
And that way too, if there's challenging days after you transition to be at home, you can remember your why. You can remember, this is why we're doing this. I know you had a hard day. I know that the kids were crazy and you kind of missed your work a little bit, but remember why we're doing this. Remember, we're doing this because of X, Y, and Z. And number 2 is to identify the hurdles. Interestingly enough, and sometimes this isn't the case, but I was actually reluctant to transition to be at home. The reason though, the main reason though, was because, so James, he had a couple health issues. He was on oxygen for the first couple months of his life. And so that, for me, especially as a first-time mom, was just extremely overwhelming and challenging, and just and we just moved into a new house, and so all these different changes and new things. You know, breastfeeding wasn't going well, and I wanted it to go well, and so I was pumping. So we were doing the triple feeding thing, homemade formula. So it was just a lot, and it was I just want to escape. I just want to go to work. I'm really good at what I do at work, and then someone else can kind of take care of. And I know that may sound crazy to some of you that may be watching. You know, I loved my job, and I didn't feel that immediate drive to be at home full time with James. There's a hurdle there, and then kind of the more we talked about it, the more it made sense. I feel like John is having a dance party in there. Then we're well, can we afford for me to be at home on one income? I think he just has gas. I think that's it. And he's just kicking around. We had 2 cars at the time, and I had recently bought a new car. I mean, it was used, but it was a new car. And so I had a car payment on it, and it was about $320 a month. And so we were looking more into Dave Ramsey, how to pay off certain debt and everything. We were okay, if we sell my car, can we be a 1-car family? Guess the only places we really go are work, which we go to together, and then church which we go to together, and then the grocery store, which we go to together.
Yeah.
And I'm
pretty boring.
Yeah. And so, right. And then the times that I did need the car, I would just drop Rob off at work. We were able to be a 1-car family for over a year.
Step number 3 to transitioning to a single family income is to set your time frame. So make sure once you know your why and you've identified your hurdles, that you are setting a time saying, by this date, we're going to transition to that single family income. So we started talking about it when James was around 2 months old. I think we were transitioned to a single family income by the time he was 6 months.
Yeah.
Somewhere around there. So we actually had about a 4-month transition to that. We were able to sell the car, which was our one biggest hurdle, I think, was selling a car. That gave us more than $300 a month back. But set a time frame in place. So that way, if it's 12 months, it's 8 months, it's 18 months, whatever it is, set that time frame so that you actually have a space and a goal to work towards as a family.
Step 4 is implementing things now as you work towards your date. So we were looking into Dave Ramsey, especially the free app that he has called Every Dollar. So it's really looking at where is every dollar going. we were realizing at the time that we were spending like over, I don't know, maybe about $600 a month on groceries, which we didn't need at the time.
Yeah.
Now we spend
Now we need
more
it.
of that. Yeah. And we were able to cut that in half. And daycare was, I think, about $900 a month. It was,
The daycare, we were like, well, that's going to come back into our pocket as
yeah,
well.
right.
Yeah.
So we were like, wow, we actually can afford for me to stay home. So I think really budgeting, you can do every dollar, or you can do any kind of budgeting. You know, if you're pen and paper type of couple, then do that. If you're Excel, then definitely do that. Find what works for you. Try to start living on one income now, and see, like, how does that feel? Is that a little uncomfortable? Probably. But then you start to really get used to it. Okay, I can cut back on these random trips, like in the gas station to buy like Snickers bar and a
And
Pepsi.
the Pepsi, that was me.
Sorry, not even calling
Yeah,
you out.
names.
But then I can cut back on like my sparkling water. I love Perrier and San Pellegrino. And so like, okay, I can save, $40 a month on that.
Yeah, it was like, what are the things that we need to learn and start sacrificing now? Because once you transition to a single family income, it's not you just saying, hey, we're going to transition to one family income and everything stays the same. We know this subconsciously, that like things are going to have to drop to be able to have this greater good. So there's always at times a lesser good that needs to be sacrificed for the greater good. And so honestly, if this is a calling to you as a family, if like the Lord's placed this on your heart, which he did with us, if you're familiar with consolation and desolation, sometimes the Lord himself will stir your heart and make you feel uncomfortable, or this sense of desolation is actually coming from the Lord because he's trying to direct you to a better good. And so he's inviting you through these points of uncomfort, of saying, hey, look at this space. Like, I want you to come to this other place. You can get creative too. Lauren said she gave up her Perrier. But it doesn't mean we had to give up our sparkling water. And so for a lot of it, like sometimes we'll get that as a treat. We'll go and get like the flavored ones. But we have a soda stream, which allows us to still get that sparkling water that we enjoy at a significantly lesser cost. As you're making that transition, you're going to really start just seeing the ways in which you can sacrifice, or the ways in which you become creative to still find the joys in it, as you're on that path to that greater good, that greater joy as well. So the fifth and final thing to transition to a single family income is to actually take the step. So you are, and this is speaking towards that point where you are meeting that date. You set that time frame, you set that date in step 3. And now step 5 is that date's come. And so be not afraid and actually step into that single family income. It can be scary. It can be challenging, where like you've had this picture in your head, you've been starting to make this transition, you're starting to prepare, and you're saying no, and you're growing in these virtues, you're saying no to these lesser goods for a greater good. But then the days come where you're saying, okay, this was the day, and be not afraid and step into that. So that's honestly, like, you have to actually, once the door opens, you actually have to walk through the door. And so that's really important. That fear is something to be reminded of now. If it doesn't work, if you've made the preparations, you made it through the 5 steps, like, just remember that you can go back to being a 2-income family. Maybe you can even go back to this job that you gave up, or maybe the Lord's going to show you and reveal to you an even greater job for you to step into at that point. And so just know, like, that 5th step is the step. Step into it, actually make that transition, commit to that single income, knowing that if it's not working, and we would say give it 6 months to a year. I think that's what I would say, is give it 6 months to a year to allow that transition to settle in. If it's not detrimental to your family and to your vocation, give it 6 months to a year and step into it. We recognized that after several months, Lauren actually started longing to use your other gifts that weren't just derived from your motherhood and your being a wife, but like you got other gifts and stuff too. So
I had a full-time job of video editing, and the ministry that we worked for asked if I would be willing to do freelance work, maybe 5 to 10 hours a week, and I said, yeah, absolutely. I would love to, and I think that's something I can do maybe during nap time or in the evenings. and I really enjoyed that. And so I was still able to use my gifts that God had given me in a way to benefit this ministry, but then also being at home full time, but then also having just kind of an extra side gig. I don't do that anymore, but then another opportunity arose. I was just using my gifts like kind of for fun on social media, and then I was reached out to by a company asking if I'd be willing to do side work for about 5 to 10 hours a week.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, absolutely. So sometimes those opportunities arise, or sometimes you might have that desire to kind of look for something part-time. And there's definitely plenty of fun side gigs you might be able to find. Like driving a truck.
So those are the 5 steps to transition to a single family income. Yeah, we just want to bring our family to you guys. So hopefully you're all fine with the crazy background noise of a little 2-year-old boy playing with his trucks.
2 under 2.
2 under 2.
Yeah. Tell us what you would like us to cover next.
Yeah, leave us some comments. Let us know certain things that you would like us to share about our family, the way that we do certain things.
Yeah.
We have ideas. We want your ideas. Yeah.
Should we do this during nap time again?
Nap time or bedtime.
Or bedtime.
Nah, this is great.
Yeah.
That's that.
This is our life.
Yeah. Great.